All right, let's talk about some of our favorite players from this year's All Juice team.
Yeah, I'm going to end up going defensive for both of my picks. The first one of our highest drafted players, Quinyon Mitchell, the cornerback out of Toledo. He reminded me of when I would talk to people about Jalen Petrie a couple of years ago coming out of Baylor, the safety. And it was just one person after another was like, hey, you can take high picks. Okay, Quinyon Mitchell really needs to be one of the guys on this team. He checks everything. It's like everything. This, like what physically, the tools, the speed, the competition, goes to the Senior Bowl, just absolutely balls out during the week, was that buzzy guy coming out of the Senior Bowl. He, to me, is just a quintessential building block for an NFL team. And the great thing is he comes from one of those cornerstone positions, quarterback, left tackle, corner, defensive end. So I really have high hopes as him being a high-end number one corner in the NFL.
Yeah, speaking of cornerstone positions, we have Georgia offensive tackle AMARIUS MIMS on the All Juice team this year. I think you have to understand the risk with drafting him. You know, injuries, hasn't played a whole lot of football. He was kind of a part-time player when he did play in every game back in 2022. And, you know, there are some concerns basically over how raw he is moving forward. But kind of also have to understand why someone might want to take that risk by drafting him. Because you watch him play, and I think when he's on the field and healthy, he's as talented as any player in this draft class, and someone who has the talent and skill level to project to being a long-term offensive tackle in the NFL. It's just, you know, like I said before, it's going to be interesting to watch where he ends up and gets drafted in his development path, but I'm still a pretty big believer in the talent, even with all of the red flags.
My second pick would be another corner, Mike Sanderstill out of Michigan, that I think you and I looked at him and said, hey, that's our starting nickel cornerback, slots right in. I think that's what he will be in the NFL, walk-in starter at that position. He was as responsible inside that Michigan program for their success as a leader and on the field as well as J.J. McCarthy and Blake Corum. That's a pretty big deal. Like that's, you know, we're talking about the pillars there. He's sort of looked at as that third pillar.
I'm going to double back on the offensive line for my second pick. UConn offensive guard Christian Haynes. I think he's going to be a guy that we look back and say, man, why didn't he have a lot more hype? He's just a really talented player in the settings of like playing on UConn's football team. It's kind of funny because his talent really, really pops up compared to some of the things that are going on around him. Just the athleticism, the power, the technique. I think he's a pretty special player, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him start as a rookie and be a pretty productive player.